This question asks, what atoms on these two made-up molecules have formal charges that are not zero? So that's another way of asking which atoms are not normal and what are the formal charges. So the first thing we need to do is just look at all of these different atoms, and if they're not normal, we'll just identify the ones that aren't normal, and then we'll spend some time thinking about those. So carbon, there's a bunch of carbons. We know carbon has 4 bonds normally, so this carbon is normal. This carbon has 2 singles and a double, so 4 bonds, it's normal. This carbon's normal. This carbon I'll need to think about because it only has 3 bonds. This carbon has 4 bonds. This carbon, this one's not normal. It only has 3 bonds and a lone pair. Let's see, this carbon that's not drawn in has 4 bonds on it. It's normal. All right, now nitrogen. Nitrogen, normal nitrogen. So carbon's like this. Nitrogen normally has, because it's number 5 valency electrons to start with, has 3 bonds and a lone pair. So let's look at our nitrogen. 4 bonds, that one's not normal. This nitrogen has 3 bonds and a lone pair, it's normal, so formal charge of 0. This nitrogen, 3 bonds and a lone pair. This nitrogen has 2 bonds to the carbon and 2 bonds to each of these, 1 bond to each of these 2 hydrogens, so 4, so this one's not normal. And then normal oxygen, 6 valency electrons, so 2 bonds and 2 lone pairs of electrons. So this oxygen, 2 bonds, 2 lone pairs, it's normal. This oxygen only has 1 bond, so it's not normal. I'll have to look at it. This oxygen, 3 bonds, that's not normal. And this oxygen, 1 bond, so I'll have to look at that one. And I see a chlorine. Halogens, like chlorine, bromine, fluorine, or iodine, have 1 bond and 3 lone pairs of electrons because they start with 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this chlorine is 1 bond, 3 lone pairs. It's normal. I don't have to think about it. Okay, so these are the ones I have to think about. 4 valency electrons, 5, 6, and 7. So here's how we do the formal charges. What I do is for every bond, 1 electron goes for each of the atoms. So I'll count 1 negative electron for each of those atoms. And if there's a lone pair, those go directly on that atom. So for instance, this carbon has 1 bond, or 1 electron in this bond, 1 in that bond, and 1 in this bond. The other electron of these 2 goes with the hydrogen, with this carbon, with that hydrogen. So this carbon, we count, it has 1, 2, 3 electrons available to it. This lone pair of electrons it has available to it. So this carbon atom has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative electrons around it, available to it. Carbon normally has 4 negative electrons. So this carbon has 1 extra negative electron. So it has a -1 charge for that carbon. -1 formal charge. Let's do this carbon. We'll just do the carbons first. Well, this carbon has 3 bonds. 1 electron in each of those bonds belongs to the carbon. It has 0 lone pairs. So it has 1, 2, 3 negative electrons available for this carbon. Only 3 negative electrons. Normally, it has 4 valence electrons around it. So it's down 1 negative electron. So it has a +1 formal charge. And that takes care of our nitrogens, or our carbons. Let's go to nitrogen next. And we're going to see if we can get to 5, which would be normal. So this nitrogen, each bond, 1 of the electrons in each of these bonds belongs to the nitrogen. There are 0 lone pairs. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 negative electrons around it. It normally wants 5 negative electrons. It's down 1 negative electron. 4 bonded nitrogens are plus, therefore. And this nitrogen has 1, 2 for these bonds, 3, 4 for those bonds, 4 negative electrons around it. Normally it has 5, it's down 1 negative electron, so it has a +1 charge. Let's go to the oxygens and see if we can count to 6. This oxygen that's not normal has 1 for this bond available to the oxygen, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative electrons around it. All of them in the lone pairs belong only to oxygen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative electrons. Oxygen normally has 6 negative electrons. It has an extra negative electron, so it's a -1 formal charge. This oxygen has 1, 2, 3. Remember, the bonds only one go to the atom. The other goes to the other atom. 1, 2, 3. These two belong to oxygen. 4, 5. 5 negative electrons. Normally at 1, 6. It's lost 1 negative electron. It's down 1 negative electron. Since it's down 1 negative, it has a +1 charge. And finally, this oxygen has 1 for that bond, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 around it. 7 negative electrons. Normal is 6. It has 1 extra negative electron. That oxygen would be -1. So that's how I count formal charges. Hope it makes sense. Hey, like and subscribe to the channel so I can continue to help you in your organic chemistry journey.